Good evening. My name is Sean, and this is the Homestead Diary. It's sunset on the Sabbath. Beautiful day. It was mid-70s. Spent the day with the family, doing a little bit of traveling around. Went to a park, had a nice picnic. Kids had an awesome time at a playground. My little guy had a crush for about, I don't know, half an hour or so. You know, the whole thing where little boys will tease the girls because they don't know what else to say and they're mean to them. But then if the girls act like they are ignoring them, then the boys will want to come talk to them. Yeah, that sort of thing. It's kind of funny. I'm walking into the building where we've got our, there's the light. We've got these sodium lights that take a minute to come on. Anyway, just coming into where the freezer is to put the new tortillas in the freezer. And hopefully, I've got a spot. There we go. And so it's been a good, relaxing day. You know, kind of the way things should be on a Sabbath. No real pressing concerns, little minor shopping. Went to a couple of yard sales, picked up some random things. Not an exciting day, but not a hard day either. I found myself saying last evening, I'm ready for a day off. I mean, we've been driving ourselves pretty hard to get our gardens in, and it's been primarily building what needs to be built, you know, infrastructure type stuff, because we're starting pretty much from scratch. And I'm not saying that from a point of view of complaining about it or anything, you know, just kind of the way it is. And we are super blessed that the people who had the place before did some gardening. There's a greenhouse, as some of our returning viewers know. And there's a big pile of dirt where they used to keep their chickens, where they also kept apparently their potting soil, gardening soil from year to year. And so we're using that. I mean, for the area, there's very little clay in it. So that's awesome. And so we got things laid out in the garden. We've got probably, I would guess we've got about a half an acre that we've got fenced off. And so should be pretty good. And of course it's right next to the goats. And so we had to put up all kinds of stock fencing and electric wire and all that. And we got the chickens in with the goats for a while because we opened up a new section and there were ticks. And so the chickens are taking care of that. And so life is good. We start the week tomorrow. And we're going to be putting soil on the sheep mulching beds. And we're going to be hopefully planting trees. I've got a yard hydrant to put in. Interestingly enough, there's a point at which the water line was laid to where it goes from the pump house to a yard hydrant to inside the greenhouse. To on the other side of the greenhouse, there are these 4 tires that are buried in the ground in a column. And you can see where the water pipe junctures there. And I'm guessing that they did that for easy access at a later date, although I don't understand why. And then it goes from there to a yard hydrant, probably 100 yards, going down to the fence line where they used to water their cattle. And so, but at that point where the tires are, it's exposed. And it froze at some point, who knows where or when. But it's nice because we're going to pull the tires out and we're going to put in a yard hydrant, which we bought, at the break. And so that's going to be super helpful because then we've got yard hydrant in front of the greenhouse, but outside the fence so we can water the grapes. And then a spot in the greenhouse for watering, and then a spot on the other side of the greenhouse for doing the gardens. And I think at some point we're probably going to dig down and tie into the line for a yard hydrant on the far side of the orchard. Just because that kind of makes sense. I mean, yard hydrants aren't really that expensive. I mean, $60 versus having to run everywhere with hose. And, you can just have the convenience and savings of time to just have, if you get a yard hydrant every 100 feet or so, and then you just hook up your hose and water what's nearby and then coil it up and go to the next one. And so, yes, it requires more infrastructure and more materials up front, but time savings. At our place in Oregon, we had well, we still have, but we had a spring up on the hill that fed into a 500-gallon tank. And then from that, I believe we put in, we created our own yard hydrants because it was less expensive, and we actually dug a line and put it in with a drain at the bottom. So we didn't need the sophistication of a yard hydrant with the frost-free deal that is down in the ground. And so come fall, we just open up the end and it drains out, and no concerns of freezing. Well, that and Coast Range in Oregon, I mean, seriously, it doesn't get that cold. It's not like here where it'll get down to 10 degrees or 5 degrees. I think in 8-9 years there, we saw one time, actually our first Thanksgiving, it got down to 0 degrees over Thanksgiving. And it was interesting because we had just come from Alaska and we had work to do. And I just put on my clothes and went outside and did my thing. And I'm like, yeah, it's a little cold out here. And the town was silent. I mean, nothing going on, because in that part of the world, when it gets down below about 20 degrees, everybody stays inside and it's like a big thing. Whatever. My blood was thick at that time. Now my blood's a little bit thinner, but that's been purposeful. We're conditioning ourselves for what is going to be hotter conditions here.